So depress the clutch, grab our shifter, we're gonna pull towards us and up. That's gonna be reverse. Now, if this was a regular manual transmission and I held the brake and released the clutch, we would have just killed the car. The car would have just died. But as you can see, the high drive is working. So now we'll just release the brake and it functions just like an automatic in that sense. So this is a little bit of what it's like to daily drive an antique or classic car. This is a 1954 Plymouth Belvedere, and it has a Flathead straight six engine, and it's a 3-speed shift on the column. So similar engine to what you see right here actually on the stand. So this thing is a car that I've had for almost 2 years now, and was sitting for just at 50 years in a building. And I've done a couple videos on it, maybe you've seen them, and getting this thing running. And this is one of my daily drivers. I drive it every single day. Take the boys to school in it, run my errands and all that kind of stuff. So it has a couple changes to it, but I've tried to keep it as barn find as possible. So it looks just like it did when I pulled it out of the barn. I haven't even washed it. The only thing I've done is clean the windows as far as aesthetics go. So I have put some different seats in it because there was kind of no way around it. The original seats were just absolutely disgusting. They were the bench seats, and rats had been living in them for, well, probably close to 50 years. So you can see the door panels are not in great shape. That one over there is dirty. The driver's side one's in pretty good condition, but I drive it around just like this. I pulled the carpet at the same time that I pulled the seats out. So what I have in here right now are just some seats out of a 2005 Chevy Silverado. These are seats that I swap into lots of different cars just because of how easy they are to make fit into things, and they're very, very comfortable. So I have the two captain's chairs in the front, and then this back one is actually just the flip console, as you can tell. So my youngest son rides back there. So just the three of us usually drive it around. My wife doesn't really like to ride and stuff like this, and that's just fine. So I drive this thing pretty much every day, and I get 20 to 25 miles per gallon, just depending on what I'm doing. Right now we're going to go to the machine shop and pick up a freshly milled cylinder head for this engine. So I figured I would take you guys along and have a drive into Plymouth. So we'll take a look inside, and I'll show you guys a few of the controls and kind of how things work. So we have this extra large diameter steering wheel, which pretty much all the cars back in these years had, and it's because there was no power steering, so you need that extra leverage. Lever over here on the right, that's our shifter. 3 on the tree or column shift, and this does have blinkers. So also has brake lights and reverse lights. By 54, pretty much every car had that. As far as instrumentation, we've got a speedometer. We have an ammeter, fuel, oil, and temp, and that's it. And then we have electronic wipers, which is cool. Some cars had vacuum wipers. This one has electronic. They do work. All the panel lights and all that kind of stuff work, and this thing is still 6-volt positive ground. Now you could get a radio in 54, but this car was spec'd without one, which is a little bit rare because it's a top tier trim of Belvedere. So that means it had the capability of having every possible option. It does have the upgraded climate control, if you can call it that, which would have been either recirculate inside, fresh air, and the capability of a defrost. So obviously no AC, although we are going to put AC in this car eventually. So, and I'll be doing that via one of the 12-volt kits. There are lots of maintenance stickers all over this thing, which are super cool. I've taken time to read them and all the door jams, but let's go ahead and show you guys how to operate one of these. So e-brake is on the left-hand side. I know it's kind of dark over there, but usually it would be like that. You turn it and go forward. When the car's been sitting overnight, just 1 or 2 pumps of the accelerator pedal and it'll crank right up. This is a high drive model, which means it has a torque converter between the engine and transmission and clutch. So what's actually pretty cool is you can come to a complete stop without having to depress the clutch. It is still a manual transmission. So how this was meant to be driven was just leave it in 3rd gear. Leave it in your top gear and you just daily drive. The only time you have to shift is if you're going into reverse. You can shift through 1st and 2nd, but there really is no point. If in 2nd, maybe the car has a little bit extra takeoff, but 1st is just so short. And yeah, it's really interesting. It was a stopgap right before automatic transmissions came out. Everyone was scrambling to try to figure out the cool next thing to do. Before high drive, they had something called fluid drive, which did not use a torque converter. It was just a fluid coupling, so drained quite a bit of power, whereas this one technically multiplies the power to the wheels. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing started up here. So I just did one pump of the accelerator pedal and it cranked right up. That's usually how it goes. When it's hot outside and it's had some vapor lock, or when the fuel has started to boil, if it's very hot, sometimes you'll have to kind of crack the throttle open and turn it over for just a minute. But it always cranks right up. This engine has great compression. The cylinder head that we're going to go pick up is just for that spare engine that I'm rebuilding. I was going to put it in the Plymouth one day, but I think I'm just going to end up selling it. I have a matching overdrive transmission over there, which is pretty cool. This car does not have overdrive, and it cruises at 2,800 RPMs at 55 miles an hour. So, you know, not ideal for very long trips, but totally doable for all the kind of stuff that I do, even 1 or 2 towns over. So let's go ahead and get out of here. So depress the clutch, grab our shifter, we're going to pull towards us and up. That's going to be reverse. Now, if this was a regular manual transmission and I held the brake and released the clutch, we would have just killed the car. The car would have just died. But as you can see, the high drive is working. So now we'll just release the brake and it functions just like an automatic in that sense. All right, I'll show you the only time that you need to touch the shifter. It's going to be when we go into drive. So we'll go drop it down, then back up. That's going to be second gear. And then to switch gears, we'll clutch in and go to third. So you need to use the clutch to change gears, and that is it. You can come to a complete stop otherwise. So it's a little warm out here today. It's in the 80s, perfectly good temperature for Texas, but go ahead and turn the AC on there. Yeah, there we go. All right, we got about 12 to 15 minute drive to the machine shop. So I've only been driving for just a few minutes, and as you can tell, I didn't have to sit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and wait for the carburetor to warm up. These old Carter carbs are awesome. This one has what's called a BBS, which is a upgraded version, sort of a BB. Really, really good carburetor. So the resonance in here is not super great since the carpet and the headliner are out. But my very next step before I do anything else is actually going to be sound deadening and carpet. So just to make a more pleasant driving experience for me and the boys. There is an extra shiny lever that you can see between the steering wheel, right there. And if you push that down, that's where you get your auxiliary forced air induction. A little flap opens up that you can't see right beyond the dash there, before the hood, and you get extra fresh air forced into the cab. You can see the gauges there, how they function. So there's a little bit of red plastic left on that clutch pedal, and high drive cars actually had a red pedal cover because they were so cool. So if you wanted to get a little bit of extra takeoff at this point at a stoplight here, you could go ahead and switch to second gear, and we'll take off in second gear instead. It's good for traffic situations and stuff like that where you need to take off a little quicker. Even in the manual it says first gear is more or less useless. It's just so low, and plus the slip of the torque converter, you don't really get much use out of it. I think I remember reading something about it being good for sand or something maybe, but I never use it. The rust in this car is super minimal. As you can see, there's some on this panel cover here for the pedal assembly, and way over there you can see a through hole. Besides that, there's only one more spot in the back, but really solid car. Luckily, since it was stored indoors. Well, we're here at the machine shop. Just a beautiful day here in late September in Texas. Weather is just perfect for driving classic cars like this. We're gonna go in here and pick up a cylinder head that I had milled. We had 60 thousandths taken off of that flathead for that 230 you saw there in the shop floor. Well, we've got our nice, beautiful cylinder head ready to go. We'll go ahead and head back from the machine shop. Let me see if I can show you guys how this thing hot starts. So when it's hot outside and you just finished driving it, sometimes you got to give it a little, crack the pedal open just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So typically that is fuel overflowing from boiling, from being hot pretty much. Kind of a common old car thing. It's also possible that this Carter float level is a little bit high. I wouldn't doubt that at all. We're at a stoplight here. We'll go ahead and shift through all the gears this time for you guys. So stick it in first. You can definitely tell the lower gears have more leverage. Wants to pull you through the brakes a little bit more. These are manual brakes as well, no booster here. And they're drums all the way around. I was hoping to get it on video, but there was a downside that popped up that I didn't talk about, which was occasional vapor lock on these old flatheads when sitting still. So I was at a stoplight for quite a while, and it's probably 95 degrees now, and every now and then the fuel, modern fuel at least, will have the potential to boil, and it'll boil in the fuel pump, and then it'll have a hard time pumping it up to the carburetor. Typically it's not boiling in the carburetor while it's running. There are a few fixes for this. You can get a recirculating style fuel filter, which is the cheapest way to do it, or you can install a electric fuel pump. Another option would be to run ethanol-free fuel all the time, but that's not always an option. So this thing does pretty fine as long as I'm not driving it on a 100-degree day in traffic. But even so, once you start moving and air goes across the engine bay, gets rid of that vapor lock pretty quickly. I do run a fuel additive called Carb Defender, made by a company called Driven. They make racing oil, Driven racing oils. But whenever I install the recirculating style fuel filter, that problem will pretty much go away completely. What it does is it lets a little bit of fuel be pumped back constantly to the fuel tank to cool off. It has a third hole, but a second output nipple on the fuel pump itself. If I can find one in the shop, I'll show you. And it has an orificed hole, very restricted hole, but that way the fuel pump can keep pumping all the time, and hot fuel isn't just sitting in there next to the engine boiling. Well, I hope you folks enjoyed this quick look at taking a 54 Flathead Plymouth on a little trip. This is, like I said, a car I drive every day. I do errands just like that all the time, taking the kids to school and things like that. So I will usually go a town over once or twice a week, which is another 40 miles a day. But besides that, small trips are just fantastic. Adding an overdrive in these things is probably one of the most beneficial things you can do aside from AC and disc brakes. But with those couple upgrades, my gosh, this vehicle can really accomplish pretty much all the tasks that you have set out for it. So I've thought about putting an overdrive in this thing for a long time, but the high drive transmission is just so cool to me. I don't think I can make myself do it. That transmission down there is what's called an R10G, which is a factory overdrive, but the downside is it goes back to being a regular 3 on the tree manual transmission. You lose the torque converter. I've thought about doing some kind of Frankenstein build and maybe compiling the two to have a just super rare and cool Plymouth that I don't think anyone's ever done before. But anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments, if you like this content or you think it's stupid, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.